Hello and welcome to the 90MinuteCynic podcast. I'm your host as always, Chris Gallagher, and I'm joined by Bryan McManus.
Hello.
Marek Robert making his debut.
Hello.
Ciaran Harran back as always.
Good afternoon.
And a very hungover Chris Boud chewing gum like nobody's business.
Alright.
There we go. So we're going to start with a question, and it's going to be, who's your favourite defensive midfielder? This can be the perspective from any midfielder, so it can be a Celtic midfielder or just any midfielder overall. We're going to start. Bryan asked us to speak with Bryan and ask him first because I have a feeling it's going to be really obvious. Bryan, who's your favourite defensive midfielder?
He's actually a Latvian player.
Here we go.
Nah, I'm looking. I don't know. I don't know if you class him as defensive. Edgar Davids or Seedorf, I think. One of your favourite players.
A guy who myself and Marek were talking about being the two most overrated players of all time on Friday evening.
Absolutely outstanding footballers. So either one of them. But the reason I wanted to go first because I was going to say Paul Lambert.
Ah, okay. Love Paul Lambert. What he did, obviously, at Dortmund and obviously Celtic as well, was absolutely amazing. Marek, question for you. Edgar Davids, one of the most overrated midfielders of all time.
Definitely him and Seedorf.
Yeah.
Absolutely most overrated.
Yeah. Absolutely. Ciaran, we're going to come to you now.
That's a really good argument you put up there.
No, they are.
Just any basis for that?
Clarence Seedorf.
Excluding all their title wins and stuff.
Why is Clarence Seedorf overrated?
I mean, I know he's done well at every club he's ever been at, but
Thank you. Yes.
But he's never been one of the best players in the world for me.
He's always been part of a well-drilled machine.
Yeah. In every
That
club
he was
that he's
the
went to,
cog
he's already been one of the best clubs already.
Yeah.
He's never really added to any of these. I don't know.
Apart from that amazing Ajax team.
Well, he's Frank Rijkaard. He was, you know, if you sit with Frank Rijkaard and you aren't a good midfielder, then it's going to become, you know, you're going to struggle anyway.
Right, so he was a young guy, came into a team and ended up winning the Champions League.
Don't get me wrong. I think he's a good player. We both agree he's a good player.
In Brazil just now as well.
He's just when people put him on that high echelon of, he genuinely is one of the best midfielders of all time. That's where I take issue with it because I like him. I think he's good, but I just think he's incredibly over. Then again, I think Pirlo's overrated. So,
oh no, Jesus.
So, coming to Ciaran Harran. Hello there. Defensive midfielder.
I'm tied between two, and it's Michael Carrick and Xabi Alonso. But I'll go with Michael Carrick because I think Michael Carrick, one of the best two-footers in the world. The passes he can play from a deep roll with
To another
foot.
deep roll. It's like...
Well, a lot of times they go forward. I think he does really well now. Between him and Xabi Alonso as well. I really do like Xabi Alonso.
I think Xabi
he's
Alonso.
fantastic.
I love Xabi Alonso. I think Xabi Alonso's better than me. I do like Michael Carrick's good. I do like him, but I think Xabi Alonso is more. He's got more range of passing than Michael Carrick does. Michael Carrick's great short passing, and he's got a good final through ball. But I think Xabi Alonso's got a better long ball, and he actually maybe adds that, and that's why
I think Michael Carrick's got a good long ball at times as well, out to the wings.
I think
forward.
I think they're both great. They're probably two of the best in the world in terms of consistency. But yeah, so you're going with Carrick, Marek?
Well, I'm going to go with another Dutchman, Frank Rijkaard, who he's been a defender as well in his career, but I think that was his best position, was a sort of defensive midfielder.
Yeah.
Best defensive midfielder I've ever seen.
What was your favourite Rijkaard's performance in terms of, did you at Milan or when he was at Ajax or?
Oh, AC Milan, definitely. And spitting on Rudy Vall as well. It was
one
of the greatest moments in football. So
listen, that hairdo, that deserves to have spit all over it if you ask me. So, okay, so we've got Michael Carrick, Frank Rijkaard, Paul Lambert, Christopher Tiberius Boud, arrogantly chewing there in the corner.
Yep. It's like Alex Ferguson's in the room.
Yep.
The answer is Paul Lambert because he's a touch of class. But honourable mentions, I was going to mention Alonso, who's already came up. Absolutely fantastic. Made that Liverpool team tick when he did tick, and you've seen what happened to them when he was removed. Players just now, Lars Bender, big fan of his.
Yeah, he's great.
I'm trying to think, there's a few of us. Roy Keane, when he pushed back, became holding midfielder, he was absolutely tremendous.
It's funny because no one's really mentioned Keane or Vieira, and I think that's when Man United and Arsenal really were unbelievable. Watching them play each other, it was a war. It genuinely was a war. I'm not saying it was similar to.
Was Vieira a defensive midfielder?
Well,
It's more a box-to-box midfielder now.
Well, that's where you
It
draw.
was Gilberto Silva that was the defensive midfielder on that team.
Yeah, but in terms of when Vieira was first box to box defensive midfielder, they can basically do the same thing. Petrov could be described.
But when Petit was in the team, Vieira would always be the holder.
When it was France, it was Vieira, and then there was Deschamps was the defensive.
Nobody cares about France, Marek. Why wouldn't you?
We've got a lot to talk about France actually coming up, but okay. But I'm keen. The more he kind of dropped back, Vieira as well. When Vieira was in Milan, he was basically a defensive midfielder.
I'm quite glad no one's mentioned Busquets because I fucking hate him.
Why?
Because he's just an arsehole.
He is an
He's a
arsehole.
fantastic player, but he's not an arsehole. There's just something about him.
So you don't like him because he's an
The
arsehole?
night it takes a touch, man, he's down like a fucking sack of spuds.
Who would you Celtic? Do you have any other than Paul
Neil
Lambert?
Lennon was a decent player.
Neil Lennon.
Give him his due.
Talk about the crab, boom. But Neil Lennon was obviously great.
I suppose recent days, Victor.
Brian,
No, we have a tweet from Neil Harris, who's at NJ Hag, and his favourite defensive midfielder of all time is Nobby Stiles.
Nobby Stiles, part of that Manchester United team and that England team that done something.
World Cup winner. I used to be fan. He was jumping about the pitch with the World
Aye.
Cup, innit? Yeah.
Listen, we've all heard the Frank Skinner and David Baddiel 3 lines when they mentioned Nobby Stiles. So, fair play. Yeah, terrific. Any other points on that? Does anyone want to add anything?
Well, I just said obviously with Celtic modern way was Victor. I mean, the last season in that position, he was just phenomenal for us.
Victor,
What he's doing with Southampton.
he's not. Well, funnily enough, I was following. There's a really good tactical Twitter account. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, and the guy was actually at the Southampton game, the last game, and he gave Wanyama 2 out of 10, saying he's been an absolute clogger all day, all game. Now maybe that was just that one game, but I was saying this to you, Ciaran, like when we were watching Celtic and Ajax, that in terms of what he did for us, like against Barcelona, he would pick the ball up and he'd burst out of midfield, and he would really, help push the whole team forward, help push the whole line up. Whereas at Southampton, he wins the ball and just passes it. And as soon as he wins the ball, he just gives it to whoever's sitting in front of him. And that's probably, I don't know if that's going to get the best out of Wanyama.
Yeah, we've got another tweet in from at Melbourne Boy. Makalele, so good at it, they named the position after him.
Yeah, Makalele. I love Claude Makalele. I remember when he was at Nantes with Reynald Pedros and that great Nantes team in '95. Yeah. Anyway, who else? There is plenty of other ones, and we don't want to just spend the next 20 minutes talking about who the best defensive midfielders were. But Claude Makalele, Chelsea, Essien.
Michael Essien, yeah.
Michael Essien
Crank player.
was-
I don't know if he's ever been a holder.
I know, to me that's a box-to-box midfielder as well. It's just a different kind of player. When you're talking about defensive midfielder, talking about the guy that kind of sweeps up the play.
Okay, well, I mean,
You've been looking at Mikel just now for Chelsea. Mikel was brought in after Makalele.
Deschamps is obviously, the Eric Cantona famously described him as the water carrier, which was actually an insult more than anything, because he's a silky player. Obviously, Juventus legend, Marseille legend, only French captain to lift the European Cup. Until Zlatan does this season. Am I right, Brian?
Yes, aye. Was that the year that Rangers got to the semi-finals of the European Cup?
Rangers have never been to the semi-finals of the European Cup.
The only 8-team semi-final in the history of ever.
But as far as I'm concerned, the first thing you can do for me is to chuck all your medals and all your caps and all your pots and all your pans into the biggest flipping dustbin you can find. Because you've never won any of them fairly. You've done it all by blooming cheating.
Some news to do with Glasgow Celtic. We've been linked with...
Why are you doing that voice?
I don't know. We've been linked with Ibrahim. He's a defensive midfielder, central midfielder.
One of the best of all time.
Box-to-box midfielder. No one quite knows. He's at Man City currently. He's been on loan at Norwegian club. Brian, you'll know this team, of course. Stromgodset.
That's a really bad pronunciation, but yes.
22 years old. He's been released by Manchester City. Arsenal and Everton are interested in him. Ciaran, you made the point when we were just on a down there. You think it might be a replacement for Ledley?
Well, if he's we don't actually need any more midfielders just now, but if Ledley doesn't sign his contract, then we realistically have to sell him in January to get some sort of money rather than let him walk away for free, even though we did get him for free. But why keep a player for another 6 months when you can get some kind of money? So if he goes out the door, maybe this boy's getting brought in just to keep the level of players up until the summer and then get somebody better then.
It's an interesting one because, you know, I think we're all Joe Ledley fans, but at the same time, you know, maybe he's not playing as well as he has been. That might be due to injury. Also might just down to attitude. You know, if you're in a situation where you think you're going to leave, then, you know, maybe not give as much as you would. Brian, is he going to leave?
But don't think so, actually. I think he's kind of made his home up here. He feels really comfortable. I think Celtic have maybe fannied about a wee bit and should have had this tied up quite a long time ago. So I think if it does go, the blame could be levelled at the club. But I think he wants to stay. I don't think they necessarily have to offer him much more, if any, more money. And no, I think he'll sign on.
Marek, what are your thoughts on Joe Ledley overall? Because we've not really had your take on Celtic. This is your first time. What are your thoughts on Ledley?
Well, to be honest, I haven't really watched a lot of Celtic this year, but he always seemed to me to be one of the best players in the team. Captain, he should be a captain.
Yeah.
Is he the captain?
No, he's not. He's vice captain or some bullshit. Ciaran's doing the nod thing, saying no.
There's about 3 or 4 ahead of him because Sam last week's vice, then there's Mulgrew.
Yeah, they passed.
Then I think there's Ledley.
He seems like a captain type player to me.
Yeah, he's not the captain or vice captain.
Yeah, but so you'd want to sign him on basically? For,
definitely.
Yeah, Chris, losing Ledley, how big a blow would that be?
I think it's a huge blow. He's a superb player. He's versatile. He's shown time and again that he can play at a fantastic level. He's the type of player that we want at the club. However, that being said, he is obviously there or thereabouts at the top of the wage structure, and I don't think Celtic should go below that to keep hold of a player. It's disappointing that we're not already ahead of this, either having extended his contract previously instead of waiting until now. We've seen it with Jackie McNamara. Greatest Celtic. Talking about great holding midfielders ever, when he moved into the holding midfield slot, boom.
Just one word on Jackie McNamara. Boo.
Best
Boo
Celtic
for your
player ever.
10 pieces of silver. Sorry, go on.
No choice.
Aye, very
you were
good.
glad when he broke his leg, weren't you? Yeah.
Jesus.
Big fan of Jackie Mac. But Ledley, I'd love to see him stay. But it's down to whether or not he'll stay for the same money, because I think if he needs to increase his wages, it's beyond Celtic. We don't want to see ourselves getting into a mess and overstretching us. We've seen what can happen with that. So, I would love to hold him, but
let me ask you this, Chris.
What age is he? Is he demanding more wages? Or?
Well, he's the highest paid player at the club.
And what age is he?
He is, 26, 27. The thing is, though, as Chris said, though, because he was a free agent, we've given him a ridiculous amount of wages, and therefore there's not a lot of wiggle room because we do have a wage structure. So if you are, an international footballer, you are coming to the end of your contract, you can just sit and you can negotiate a brilliant signing-on fee with a ton of Premiership clubs, Championship clubs even. Cardiff will obviously be very interested in him. We're not going to kind of dwell on the past in terms of the Champions League, because we will come to that. But how bad were Celtic in Amsterdam, Ciaran?
Woeful. Most of the first half. The first half was absolutely shocking. Apart from the defence did well, and the keeper from Ajax scoring. Well, although Ajax never had a lot of chances, to be fair, honestly, they're just our passing was slack, our movement, even touch. We just wasn't a good touch. I think he gambled too much with putting Samaras, Commons and Forrest in, who over the last month or two, each of them have not had a lot of games in a run, and it seemed to be a big gamble because Commons was barely in the game. He really did look well off the pace.
Chris, what were your thoughts when you get to half time and you're 0-0 and you possibly should be a couple of goals down, let's be honest, and you don't change it? As Ciaran says, Chris Commons was... I'm a huge Commons fan, but he was just off the boil.
Yeah, no, 100%, and that's the thing. When Commons... We all know he's not the most athletic of players, so when he's unfit, he's not really in a position to be in that park.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have been playing, and I think when it gets to half time and you're looking at why Commons wasn't switched out, you've got to ask yourself that. I totally agree with Ciaran as well. Defensively, the players well, it was Van Dijk, it was Lustig, Forster for me were the three that really, really performed exceptionally well. Outside of that, you're struggling to get pass marks.
Yeah, Brian, just kind of get your take on it. Who was it fault for the result? Is it the players or was it the manager? Was the manager too slow to make changes tactically and in terms of personnel, or were the players just, especially as Ciaran and Boud have both alluded, the defence actually did pretty well. Every time they passed the ball out though, it was coming right back at them because our midfield was atrocious. Who's at fault, players or manager, or is it a bit of both?
I think it's a combination of both. Like you said, I totally agree. All the defenders were excellent. I think Van Dijk and Ambrose were probably our most creative players on the pitch.
That's a really good point.
Everything in front of them was awful. Lennon should have had the balls to take Commons and probably Samaras off at half time, if not earlier, actually. So I think Lennon did make some major mistakes there. I don't know what was going on with the players. I mean, although we got the result at Celtic Park against Ajax, I don't think they played particularly well there either. They went into the game in Amsterdam, saying how they were going to do the job and everything, and then just made an absolute arse of it, to be honest.
The moment, and obviously you can kind of gauge the support in terms of social media, but people were talking about how Celtic were easily going to, 2 or 3-0 in the Amsterdam. I don't know. Do you think the players maybe get caught up in this sort of fevered ego scenario where they thought, do you know what, we beat them at home, we'll beat them again, Marek? Do you think that kind of comes
definitely.
into play?
I've just talking to people before the game as well. It was as if we were going to go there and just dominate them.
Yeah.
But we've obviously not seen Ajax the way they play. They dominate possession and.
What I thought was really interesting is when they scored one of a terrific goal, one of the goals of the season.
And actually a great call by you, actually, because you mentioned in the first game when he came on, Sean, just ran the show.
I thought he was one of the best players on the pitch. But, they scored that great goal, and then they kind of sat off us.
Yeah.
And, they did that purposely. They were obviously looking to hit us on the counter-attack, but I think they got frustrated because we weren't pushing up as much as we should have, and therefore it was hard for them to sit on the counter. So it was a clash in of styles in that, they were wanting to play. They changed how they played halfway through the game, but we didn't because, you know what, maybe we can't.
I think that's it. There's the lack of a plan B, I think. But in the first game, there was the result papered over a lot of things because Ajax had a lot of brilliant chances at Celtic Park.
Absolutely.
And just for some really poor finishing and good goalkeeping. Yeah. They could have easily won the game. So either the Celtic fans and like you say, probably the players were getting a wee bit ahead of themselves. And the only good thing now is that Celtic have got a home game coming up against a kind of mediocre Milan team.
Well, we'll come to Marek. We'll come to Ciaran and Marek for their kind of thoughts on Barcelona because you both watch a lot of the league. Obviously, you do as well, Brian. Marek, Milan, how poor are they just now?
Yeah, they're obviously not playing very well at the moment. I think it's a bit over-exaggerated how bad they are and how mediocre. They do have some good players.
Muntari, obviously a great player.
Oh, no, I know. There is players in that team that should never be playing for Milan. But let's face it, they've got some good players as well.
No, they absolutely do. Kaka seems to be hitting a bit of form.
He's looking like the old Kaka again.
Yeah. Who else kind of stands out for you in that team?
Obviously Balotelli. Montalivo, I think, is a fantastic player.
Yeah, I agree.
Very underrated.
I agree. I think Montalivo, unfortunately, still ges overshadowed by how good Pirlo is at this point. He's a great player, plays incredibly well for Italy. What are your thoughts on how do you beat Milan?
Oh, you've got to exploit the defence. Mexes and the Colombian one, I can't remember. It's Zapata.
Zapata.
You can take advantage of them, then you've got a good chance.
Is it a case of kind of playing our style, or we have to beat them playing our own way as opposed to try to play their way?
Yeah, I think we just need to use the crowd and just go at them for the start to try and get the victory. And
yeah, as a huge fan of Matri, he's been pish.
It's been awful. I think he scored one goal. I think.
He's just been really shite. I don't know why. Because to me, it looked like it's a perfect kind of partnership, especially with Balotelli playing off Balotelli.
Balotelli's not been playing recently. I don't know what's going on there.
Do you know why Balotelli's not been playing recently?
No.
Good.
Well, I assume obviously there's a fallout with the manager, as he seems to do with most managers that don't kind of get along with him.
Yeah, Marek, you said to me, we watched the Juventus and Napoli game on Sunday, and you said to me you hope that Allegri hangs on before the Celtic game. What are the chances of him actually getting sacked? What's a week on Wednesday? Not very likely, is it?
I'm not sure who they're playing at the weekend.
I'll tell you who they're playing just now. You keep talking.
But, well, I've been saying it for about a year that how long's Allegri got, but last year he turned it around, and to be fair, for the last half of the season, last season, they were at Milan were pretty outstanding. They only lost a couple of games, I think.
Yeah, they went from, I think they were 11th to finishing Champions League position. So it's Milan they're at home to Genoa, so you know it's not the toughest game. Genoa actually are ahead of them on the table.
Yeah,
so.
Genoa are doing not too bad this season, but I mean Milan at home, you just expect them.
Yeah.
So you'd expect Allegri to hold his job for at least the Celtic game.
Well, I lost to Genoa. Could that trigger a sacking?
Yeah, I think so. But then again, as I said, I've been saying that for a while now.
Yeah,
there's been so many bad results.
And held on.
It's not his fault though. It's just I think Allegri's an excellent manager. I think he's just not been given the tools to do the job.
Well, they're talking about him for Italy after the World Cup.
I think it'd be a good appointment.
I agree. I think he's got the tools. I think I jokingly mentioned about Klopp, going to Milan and whether he would and stuff like that. But Milan are almost a poison chalice because
they don't have any money as well.
They don't have, they're not being backed up by obviously that crook. So
Berlusconi's still there.
But they're not getting the money they once got from him. He's not bending the rules for them as much as he used to. Anyway, so Chris, how do you beat Milan? Do you just catch can, smash mouth, attack them, Shawn Michaels style, or do you? Sorry, but
I think we've. I don't think sitting back is going to work against Milan. I think we've got to throw at them basically, which is dangerous because obviously Milan want to then catch you. But yeah, you've got to get that balance right between keeping solid but not being afraid to push at them.
Yeah, as a huge fan of Kaká, you'll be happy to see him. Obviously not coming up against Celtic, but you're happy to see him back to some of the form that really made him World Player of the Year.
Absolutely fantastic player when he wants to. Just hopefully he doesn't show it against us. But
it was Kaká playing for Brazil last night. I know they won 5-0, but just out of curiosity, I don't know.
Is he back in the squad?
I'm sure I heard that he was, but
we'll get to that. If you could check that, Chris. Europe top-rated players in Europe. Neymar. It's number one. Okay, so that's Milan.
Bit off track.
Sorry, I got I was just looking at the computer there and I just got caught by Neymar just being number one. Top-rated players. In terms of the other team in the group, Barcelona, Ciaran, Barcelona have now lost Messi for 2 months. What are your thoughts on how they're going to deal with him and how big a blow is it?
I think it's not going to be as big a deal as it was, a blow as it was last year, because they lost him last year for a couple of weeks and you could see a dip in performance. But with the emergence of Neymar now settled in the team and the performances he's putting in, I think they'll just continue to go on the way they are. I don't think you'll see a dip in form and then you've seen Sanchez as well against England scoring both the goals, so he's in a rich frame of form as well. So with the two of them, and then you just swap Messi with Fabregas, and I think we'll still get the results.
Marek, thoughts?
I actually completely agree with Ciaran there. Neymar's started very well, and Sanchez is in the best form that he's ever been at Barca, and I think they'll be alright with him. It depends. They've got a game against Atletico in January, which will be a big game for the league, obviously.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to tell how much I'm missing them in that game.
Just looking at the kind of Barcelona kind of stats and stuff here, Messi he's scored 8 in the league this season, and he's got how many has he got in La Liga in the Champions League? So he's got 6 in the Champions League, 6 goals in 3 appearances in the Champions League. They are going to miss him. I mean, they can obviously they'll do well in terms of as a Neymar coming in from. I mean, Neymar's got 4 goals himself in the league, and he's got 7 assists. Neymar has 7 assists.
And he's not
That's in
scored
11 games.
He's not scored in the Champions League yet. What are your thoughts on Neymar, Brian? You're
He's
quite
a
a cynical one. There we go. You're one of those cynical Celtic fans, aren't you? Who don't like people.
I'm just a football fan that just hates him. Nah, he's an outstanding talent. He does let himself down on occasion, and I hope that he does grow up, and because it would really tarnish, a talent, and he's got potential to be one of the best ever. I think he's a fantastic footballer. But he's been doing really well. I think he'll get his first goal in Europe pretty soon. Messi will be a huge loss for any team, but like you said, Fabregas has been brilliant as well this year, and I think he's got about 8 or 9 assists as well this year. Barcelona are great.
In terms of just looking at Barcelona, we kind of went a wee bit off track, but their pass success rates, Sergio Busquets got 94%, and he's not the top in terms of... Now, there is a difference in how many... Bartra has a 94.6%.
He's been fantastic, Bartra, since he came in.
Do you think he'll kind of bed himself in as being one of the kind of key defenders for them overall? Could he replace Puyol?
I don't know if he's got the talent that... Well, I mean, Puyol's not the most talented football-wise in passing, but I don't know if he's got the same sort of...
skills?
Yeah, or the way of reading the game, but when he's come in this season, he's been excellent. He's still only, I think he's 22.
22 years, yeah.
The more games that he plays, the more he's going to improve more, so I don't know, we'll just have to wait and see, but I think he's been called up, he was up for Spain last night.
He was called up to the squad, yeah.
Man Martinez, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're going to talk about the Champions League, as the weeks kind of go on, because we do have a week... a couple of weeks before we're back in that sort of fold.
And it's been a very good game, very worthwhile exercise for both teams. Got big games coming up in qualifiers, of course, as we reconvene the internationals in the springtime. Well, there's a long ball through, and oh my God, an insane goal! I've just seen the most insane goal I have ever seen on a football pitch. Incredible Zlatan Ibrahimovic. World class. Joe Hart has come off his line, headed the ball into the path of Ibrahimovic, who has just lobbed the ball from long distance beautifully, like a trick shot, into the back of the net. And it's Sweden 4, England 2.
Let's kind of focus on international football just now. On the site, we had some previews of the key playoff games. We didn't obviously cover Uruguay versus Jordan because that was a farce. 5-0 to Uruguay. What is the point of them playing a Middle Eastern team? They're always going to turn them over. But let's start with Iceland versus Croatia. Time to rewrite the history books. Bryan McManus, talk us through your thoughts before the game and where they stand at this point.
Before the game, I was really rooting for Iceland because they do have the opportunity to be the smallest nation ever to qualify for the World Cup.
300,000?
300,000 people. They've done amazingly well in that group. And they're playing against a Croatia team that aren't great. I mean, Scotland beat them home and away.
Comfortably. Scotland beat them comfortably.
And so they got a 0-0 draw in Reykjavik. The player sent off. And I do actually believe they'll get a result in Croatia and go to the World Cup. And we'll all be Iceland fans next year.
So in terms of... It finished 0-0. They had 10 men for a lot of the second half. That's a hell of a result, Marek, eh?
No, it's a great result, but I still think Croatia will go through.
Yeah, I still think Croatia will go through. Ciaran, you were at, just talking about Scotland quickly, come back and forth. You were at the Scotland game. What were your thoughts on Scotland versus the USA? USA rated 13th in the world.
Really?
Yeah. Whether that's accurate or not in terms of where they are doesn't matter. Scotland getting a result against the 13th best team in the world is obviously good. How did Scotland play, Ciaran?
If you're a neutral, you'd have probably fallen asleep halfway through the first half. It was not the most exciting of games, but it's actually quite testimony to how far Strachan has taken the team, because this was the American side that scalped us 5-1 at the end of last season. In the last season, yeah?
Yeah, it was,
at the end of last season. Totally scalped us. Whereas now we've kept a clean sheet. I thought Scotland played well. They get a lot of the ball. Bannon, a lot of the ball was going through Bannon on the right-hand side. Creativity-wise,
creativity is not a word.
Creating chances for the team. Bannon, he didn't do a lot with the ball. Like we with supplying Fletcher. That was kind of the unfortunate part. Nothing barely went through the left side. I don't know why Craig Conway played in the left. I didn't think Craig Conway was a winger. I thought he was a central midfielder.
He's a winger. He is a winger.
Is he a winger?
He's just not very good.
Yeah, was he not the one that was called in after injuries?
Yeah, he was.
So he's called in after injuries and he goes straight into the actual starting squad. So what does that mean about some of the players that were already there, like for instance Naismith?
Well, Naismith is basically a striker now for Scotland, and he
played out in the wing when he came on. He played in the wing.
But in terms of like the game coming up, he's going to play in what Fletcher's position was. I think they're basically going to have. To be fair,
well, I think it's changed. I think McCormack's going to play in there more often because apparently for Leeds, McDermott's moved Cormac in the middle more. And the last game he played, he scored 4 goals against Charlton. So I think he's going to play through the middle more.
I like McCormack, but if a fully fit Scotland squad, I want to see Stephen Fletcher and Jordan Rhodes play. I know people will say, "Oh, we need to go 4-5-1, play to your strength." Do you know what? Maybe our strength is actually attacking, because even when we try to defend, we're not very good. Brian.
Strachan's come out and said they're not going to play a lone striker anymore. I think he'll go.
He said he's going to go 2 against Norway.
Norway, and he was going on about how obviously need to get support. He might go into that kind of, a 3 up front, which is obviously one of the more popular tactics in football just now. I think there will be a change. Strachan's already putting his own stamp on the team, and I think you'll probably see a much more attack-minded Scotland team in future.
I don't know if you guys will agree or disagree with this, right? But see, if Jordan Rhodes had decided to play for England, I think Jordan Rhodes would be in that England squad. I think he would. I'm not saying he would start, but I think Jordan Rhodes would be in that England squad.
I think he would be. As you say, I don't think he'd be starting, but I think he'd be on the fringes, and then he'd have his chance to get into it.
Look, we all like Ricky Lambert, right? In terms of, I like to see a decent guy doing pretty well, but he's not very good. In terms of international football, he's just not very good. If you compare, for example, now Marek, you've been going on about Sanchez for, even before when he was at Udinese, right? So Sanchez is a guy who people don't rate. Okay, people don't rate Sanchez. Now that performance against England when he scored 2 goals, he was phenomenal. He was absolutely, everything he did was golden. It was reminiscent of Marcelo Salas, and from that point of view, people are talking about how good Ricky Lambert is, and he's not. And he's a good Premier League player for Southampton, but in terms of international football, if that's England's, not necessarily number 1, but if that's what they're bringing off the bench, it just shows you how poor their squad is. Thoughts? For England, one of them was against Scotland, so that doesn't count. I mean, jeez.
Oh, who is England's striker? Is it Sturridge or?
It should be Sturridge.
Should be, isn't it?
Walcott, not Walcott. Sorry, Welbeck. Not necessarily. I don't rate Welbeck, but Welbeck has actually scored a couple of goals as well.
Welbeck's out now till next year.
Is it?
I agree with you, but you're comparing it with Sanchez, one of the best strikers in the world, and saying, I saw his pants.
No. I'm comparing him to a guy who isn't rated in international football.
I think he's starting to get some sort of recognition now, but
I'm not comparing them because you can't compare them. But Sanchez is a guy who people
he's not rated. He signed for Barcelona for what, 30 million or something?
Yeah, but people look at him after his first season and say he's a flop.
The point especially is, Barcelona fans.
We were talking on Twitter about best strikers in the world, and we mentioned Sanchez, and I got lots of responses saying he's pish. And from a wide variety, it's not just Celtic fans, it's not just England fans. It was just a variety of people saying he's rubbish. I've never rated him, blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, the guy who's just tweeted me saying he's rubbish is also the guy who said it's great to see Ricky Lambert in England squad. Piss off. That's actually just a rant, to be honest. If anyone wants to interrupt me, then it's absolutely fine. But so in terms of so we'll get to England in a moment. But from a Scotland perspective, definitely on the up.
Oh, without doubt. I think going into the Euros qualification when it kicks off after next summer, which is going to be even better because obviously they've expanded the tournament.
Yeah.
So I think it's the first 2, possibly first 3. I thought I had today mentioned that you could even be the top 3 of the qualifying groups.
The third will go into the playoffs.
So you're looking at, if the way we're going and Strachan's got it right with the team, then we're in a strong chance of getting to a finals finally.
Well, I mean, see, the thing is, the key point would be, I think, and I'll get your point. I'll get your point from this, Brian. Grant Hanley's not that great a player, but see if you just stick a partnership together and you stick with them kind of through thick and thin, you can see that you can get the best out of someone who's maybe not as great when they've got in a good partnership.
Exactly. And I mean, Christ, if Strachan can get the Champions League last 16 with McManus and Caldwell, then, I think we're definitely going to the Euros. That's exactly what he's done. He's got a strong central defensive pairing, and he'll stick with him. And he's done it, the Mulgrew-Brown combination as well seems to be working really well for him.
I thought, I didn't see the Scotland game, unfortunately, but from what my dad was telling me, that Charlie Mulgrew again had a really good game in central midfield with Scott Brown.
I've never seen it either, but I'm sure he did.
I think Mulgrew did, really.
No?
Well, I don't think they did.
You call my dad a liar, aye?
It seems so, aye.
I'll literally call him now.
Even though I was actually at the stadium.
Aye, very good. You were at the stadium with your mum, so who goes to... Who goes to...
Oh, it's a birthday present. It's a birthday present, then.
Who buys a birthday present of a game to
who buys a birthday present for their mum?
That's what I'm saying.
The important thing, though, it's not whether or not
it was our choice.
Scotland qualify. That's not the important thing. It's the fact that our hopes are high enough that they can be dashed when we lose.
Boom. Yes. We need to get to that height so that the crushing lows will be just as good. So that was obviously... So we mentioned the Scotland game. We mentioned Iceland, Croatia. So you think Croatia... You think Iceland?
I think Iceland, and they deserve it. They have done amazingly well. They have some cracking players. I still think there's a chance for Bogus will come to Celtic Park next season. I really enjoyed your preview. Your preview was good on Iceland thing, and what Lagerback was saying about how he set goals. Yep.
Can you just kind of filling people in on that?
Lagerback set goals.
Oh, right, okay.
And no, basically when he signed, I think they were 130th in the world or something. He basically said, I want you up 50 places in the world rankings and finish second in the group. They jumped, I think, 86 places, and they finished second to Switzerland in their group. He's a really, really experienced international manager, and he's doing fantastically well. They're a bit suspect at the back, but they've really good attacking options.
In terms of 300,000, it's a hell of a achievement just to get to the playoffs.
I mean, that's like what the population of Glasgow.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, less than Glasgow, yeah.
So in terms of... Okay, so I'm not even going to ask it because everyone else thinks Croatia's going to win because we're not ideas, clearly.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, Croatia had 59% of the possession, had 13 shots on target to their 1. But as you say, they had 10 men for most of the game.
Do you know when the guy gets sent off? Was it early doors or...
50th minute, so it was pretty much the second
pretty
half.
Much a whole half. I mean, that's terrific.
It's a great result.
And the thing is, we're talking about Croatia aren't the team they used to be. Some of the players in there
they get Mandzukic, they get Modric.
They've got a new manager now, Croatia, as well, haven't they?
Yeah. If you're trying to tell me Cazorla's not a great player, not Cazorla. What do you call that? What do you call the fullback again? He used to play for Tottenham. Chorluka. If you're trying to tell me Chorluka is not a class player,
they have some world class players though, Croatia.
Yeah. He's a better doctor.
Chorluka. Oh, from ER. Good. That's a really obscure pop culture reference. But it entertained me. Okay, so everyone else thinks that Brian's talking pish and Croatia will pump them about 4-0. France. We've got a gentleman, a Glaswegian gentleman of French descent in the studio. Hilarious. Marek, Brian, you did the preview on France and you tipped France to go through. You tipped France. Was it 2-1? Was the scoreline?
2-0. I predicted the right scoreline just for the wrong team.
Just for the wrong team. Well, Marek, you've watched all the qualifying games with your dad, who's obviously French. Thoughts on how they performed in this one game anyway?
Oh, absolutely awful. Just no cutting edge whatsoever. They can't defend. France need changes at the moment. I can't see any way they're going to go through.
So you think they're out?
They could go through, but when me and my dad were talking about it, maybe it's better if we don't go through. Another embarrassing tournament. I don't know if I can handle it again.
And then build from there. You hate Evra.
Yeah, he's a horrible man.
You love Evra, Ciaran, eh?
As a player, yes, but I do think as a man himself, after the whole... There's been a lot of stuff going on in the French press where he's been fighting with Lisa Razou and a couple of...
I've seen that. He basically...
And he's been saying some stuff that's been really nasty, and
I'm a huge...
He's really hated in France now as well, Evra. He's just a horrible man.
Well, I'll try and bring up what he said, but he basically Lizards who criticised him because he's a pundit and he's got every right to.
Ever said something like, "I've won best player in the Premiership or defended the Premiership."
What have you
like
done?
2 or 3 times. What have you done?
Well, played for
Lizards
Bayern Munich. Won a European Cup, won a World Cup, won a European Championship. Was he at the Euros in it? Who knows? But so you think it's you think it would be better if they went out?
Well, it's horrible to say. I think it's thing to say, but yeah, we watched it, and there's only 1 or 2 players that deserve to be in that team, and
who would they be?
It'll be Pogba and Ribery. The rest of them, Benzema does nothing. Nasri is just never performs for France. Valbuena should be starting. Nasri played for 75 minutes, 80 minutes of the game, and he did absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Remy, the way the game went was that Ukraine just pressed them, and it was just 90 miles an hour. And Pogba and Matuidi, the other defensive midfielder, they were trying to sort of counteract that with their strength, but Ukraine just
outpowered them
with their physique. You're talking about France here.
Yeah, you're
most
talking about
physical team in the world, probably. But
Pogba is one of the biggest players.
Pogba was good, but
World Cup without Pogba would be disappointing. I know he's only 20, isn't he? And
yeah, 20.
He'll obviously have opportunities. Ciaran, what are your thoughts on how far France have fallen in terms of losing to Ukraine? Did you see it coming? Because obviously there are a lot of players who play in the Premier League that you watch a lot.
Yeah, I've not really watched a lot of France over the last few years. I know obviously the last World Cup there was obviously huge fallout, the mutiny and all that, and it seems as if they still haven't kind of recovered from that, because there is still a bit of infighting, whether or not it's much with players, but obviously with the Evra thing, that's not going to help the squad much. But Deschamps is a good manager, so I can't understand why it's not really working, because individually a lot of these players are fantastic. Some of them can on their day be world beaters.
Yeah,
but it seems as if to get maybe it's actually too many egos.
Is Benzema that pish?
No, I think Benzema's a great player, but he's very inconsistent. He's even getting booed at Real Madrid at the moment.
Yeah,
but for France, he's just atrocious.
Does he not look interested?
He just looks. As my dad called him, a lazy bastard. He just doesn't do anything.
I thought he was going to give some sort of je ne suis quoi.
I know. I was expecting some sort of French insult there. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing.
That's the kind of general view in the French press as well. He's just not doing enough. And Giroud deserves to start.
Yeah. Well, Giroud obviously banging them in for Arsenal. So you think you would prefer you want France to go through?
Obviously, I want France to go through, but it just seems that it's going to go that way, where it's just going to be another tournament where we're just kind of peter out,
get humped.
I noticed that
we never got humped in the last tournament. We played against Spain and they lost a goal and they didn't do anything. It was just like, we're content to lose 1-0.
Yeah.
I noticed that you also ripped into Koscielny, and it seems quite wanted with the red card. I was off the top of my head, what French centre-halves do they actually have? I can't think of.
Varane should be starting now.
Again, young boy, but he's only 21, 22.
He's almost had a full season now at Real Madrid, though. And he's playing, although he was terrible against Juventus.
But that was his first game back for a long time.
I think he's great,
Is there any other centre-halves?
Well, Abidal's been playing all right for Monaco. There's Sacco for Liverpool.
Sacco's not started very well, to be fair.
There's players there, though. There's better players than Koscielny, but that's my opinion. My dad said to me before the game, "Oh no, Koscielny's playing. Every time I watch him, he gets a red card or gives away a penalty." What does he do? Both.
You hate Koscielny because he plays for Arsenal, though, eh?
No, it's not. It's just,
that's something to do with it.
Yes, of course it is.
Because Marek, obviously being of French descent, ironically enough, despises Arsene Wenger.
Do you not think Wenger would do a better job than Deschamps, though?
Yeah. I'm not going to disagree with you. I think Arsene Wenger's a great manager, but I just
probably
don't like him as a person.
Cup.
I think he probably would win France.
Deschamps a good manager, though, but we've watched all the French games in the qualifying, and France have only had one good performance, and that was against Spain, and they should have won the game.
And they didn't, did they?
And they didn't. They equalised in the 93rd minute.
Yeah. So overall, it'll be interesting to see how they go. So I'll get a prediction from. You're probably going to do the preview.
Am I? Brilliant.
Oh, okay, I'll do it.
I know. No, I'll do it. Yeah.
What's
France about 8-0 because Ukraine are shite.
8-0.
They are as well. It's the poorest Ukraine team I've ever seen.
An awful team.
So I think France will go through. So I think it'll be probably about 3-0. I think they will kind of qualify.
Actually, I agree with you there.
Ciaran, thoughts?
I think France will go through. I think that just the whole media uproar about the performance, I think we've got enough of a rock up their arse to pull out a good performance and get a result.
Boud, thoughts?
I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll go 2 each, and then it'll go like 2-0, so it'll be 2 each over the
right.
legs.
Okay, so then I'll go to penalties. I'll go to extra time.
Yeah.
It's just basically the same as. Okay, so the game I covered, Portugal versus Sweden. It finished 1-0 to Portugal with the man, the best player in the world, Cristiano Ronaldo, smashing that big-nosed Swedish wank, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. I don't know why I'm saying that. I absolutely love Zlatan Ibrahimovic. But no, Cristiano Ronaldo scored the winner. Again, it's like unfortunately I've only seen the highlights. I've seen the goal and a few other incidents. The headbutt incident, the so-called headbutt incident between Ronaldo and Michael Lustig. Ciaran, what did you think of that?
I think it was nothing. But it's the whole way with Scott Brown when he had his petulant little kick at Neymar. There was still enough of an attempt. Same with the headbutt. He does gesture his head towards Lustig. Now, thankfully, Lustig didn't. He was almost about to drop to the ground, but something clicked in his head and thought, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to look stupid. I don't know if Ronaldo got booked for that. I know he got booked in the game, but I don't know if he got booked for that. So the only worry would be that he could get done for that by like TV evidence with the FIFA, which
I don't think FIFA are going to touch him after what Blatter's been saying about him, about criticising him.
Well, I mean, if you're thinking if he gets a suspension, with internationals, does your suspension only work on competitive games? And if so, he could get hit with a 2-3 game ban, and that's him missing most of the World Cup if they get through.
Well, it just depends, doesn't it? I don't think they will, because there's been no mention of it. And, you said yourself you didn't think it was like a...
I know, but we said that with Brown. We didn't think that was much of a kick, and then he goes and gets an extra 2 game ban.
You weren't on that radio show at that time, were you? When we slagged Brown because he's a total dick.
No, he is not.
Yeah, Jesus.
I think as well.
You're absolutely right. If there's intent there, if you're going, you can't have one rule for one and another rule for another.
These better players should have their own rules. That is true.
They are better.
They're better than us.
Blatter slagging him off. Blatter just said that Messi was the better player in his opinion, and also that Ronaldo had a fancier haircut. I'd hardly say that's taken to the cleaners.
I know, right? I was being kind of facetious when I said that, but at the same time, he did come out and apologise for it. Blatter did come out and apologise for it.
Of course he did.
That's because
he makes the fuss about it, and
that's because Florentino Perez wrote my letter saying that he found the comments offensive.
That's the thing. These people are better than us, and they should be higher.
Privilege is a good thing, and we should try to encourage it as much as possible.
Absolutely. Higher esteem.
More than the 1%.
Bryan, Ronaldo versus Zlatan. What side of the fence do you sit on?
In terms of what I'd like to see Sweden get through, predominantly because I like Sweden and the whole Celtic connection through time.
And also think of all those hot buds that will be in Brazil.
Exactly, that'd be amazing.
Because Portuguese people
Brazil
don't
play Sweden.
Good-looking girls.
They're already in Brazil anyway. But I think I'd love to see Sweden get through. I think they will actually. I think Zlatan will score a hat trick in the next game.
You think so, yeah?
Yep.
Did you see Zlatan holding his nose when he was in the wall? he's holding his groin and his nose when he's in the wall.
Was he using both hands, eh?
If you try to say he's got a big nose, well, he does.
With Ronaldo's goal, it showed you the eagerness and the willing to put his head where it hurts for his team, which Ronaldo hasn't done has been accused of not really doing that, because it was a low stooping header at the boot of another player. So I mean, his pretty face could have been hurt by that. So he's putting his face where it hurts so that he can get the result for his country.
So you don't like Ronaldo, Ciaran? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just saying he's now fighting for the cause and not just kind of playing about. Another stat as well, I seen after the goal he had another header which smashed off the bar, which would have been his 30th of the season.
Zlatan?
No, Ronaldo.
Or Ronaldo?
We're in the middle of November, and already he's got 29 goals.
Yeah,
in the space of what, 2.5 months?
He scored 62 goals in the calendar year, which is more than most clubs. It's more than Manchester.
It's more than all the clubs.
More than all the clubs.
Put together? That's kind of amazing.
I'd imagine put SPL together, that would have been...
In terms of... Don't slag the SPL. In terms
Why
of...
not?
It's not. It's
Because
actually
it doesn't exist anymore for a start.
Absolutely. SPFL, correct. Zlatan versus Ronaldo. Marek, I know what side you sit on, and it's not Ronaldo. Marek, you hate Ronaldo. Why do you hate Ronaldo?
I don't hate him, but I think Ronaldo is a great player, and I think he's obviously ahead of Zlatan, but I just dislike him. I just don't like his play acting, don't like his perfect face and hair and all that.
You're just starting to sound like you don't like him because you have deep-seated homosexual feelings that you're scared to bring out.
And that Ronaldo's the opposite of you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Marek's the anti-Ronaldo.
Well, I was watching Ronaldo at Sporting Lisbon. You know me, I used to be a big Portuguese football fan. I seen him when he was 17 and I really liked him, but I just, over the years, I've just grown to despise him.
Marek liked them before he was famous.
That was kind of more like a statement you'd make, Chris.
Absolutely, I say make statements like that all the time. A lot of them are lies as well. But Ronaldo, just looking at that Portuguese team, they've Helder Postiga being their number one striker, I think shows the lack of talent they have in terms of number 9 strikers. I know you weren't the biggest fan of Pauleta. I really like Pauleta, but they've not really recovered from the loss of Pauleta, and I think that's what actually, if they do get to the World Cup, that's where they'll struggle. They're not scoring enough goals. Ronaldo's obviously Ronaldo, but he's still playing kind of out wide for them. Yeah, it's just that's why I think if Sweden get an early goal on Tuesday, I think Sweden, with their momentum, could actually go through. And actually, I think it's going to be 2-0 to Sweden.
I actually think Sweden are favourites for the tie now. In Portugal, I think that was his name. Is it Raul Meireles?
Yeah.
Who just looks like an arsehole, and he's a terrible player as well.
No,
he's garbage.
You're a massive fan of Meireles.
I love Meireles. I was disappointed.
I think he's a bit overrated, to be honest.
I think he's. I liked them at Liverpool. I thought Liverpool just completely misused them in terms of
Galatasaray now.
Galatasaray now, yeah. He's at that Galatasaray team that's got like a lot of play. They get Schneider's playing for them, isn't he?
Yeah.
Schneider,
Drogba and Bowie.
Bowie.
Well, it's Bowie.
Bowie. Boud, thoughts on Sweden, Portugal, second leg?
Yeah, I'd like to think Sweden could do it. But as you say, Portugal have a lot of decent players, not just Ronaldo. You've got your boy Veloso and Moutinho, fantastic midfielder.
Yeah.
So there's quality throughout that team, other than, I say, Postiga is maybe a little bit pants. But why not? Sweden can do it. Lustig brace.
Lustig brace. Marek, thoughts Portugal versus Sweden?
I'd love to see Sweden go through, but I think Portugal will get a draw and Ronaldo score.
Ronaldo score, Portugal draw. Kieran, thoughts?
I don't know. I think it's too hard to call. I can't see which team will go through. I think it's just so perfectly balanced.
It's actually...
Well, 2-1, then that's good.
Okay, so just kind of looking over the last... Fraser Forster made his debut for England. England took on Chile. And Brian just showed me a picture of the English Sun that had a picture of Forster on it, and it says, "You can't trust a goalkeeper from Scotland." Basically criticising Fraser Forster for his performance.
Which is ironic, because he's probably one of their best players.
Yeah, totally.
I actually kind of thought he was at fault for the second goal. I don't think there was anything he could do. And that has been incredibly harsh.
I mean, he's one-on-one with what you're classing one of the greatest strikers in the world just now. So
yeah, it's
although in saying that, that's the sort of... I mean, as a Celtic fan seeing Forster, that's the sort of opportunity where I'd be more confident in Forster than the oncoming forward. But I think he did sort of... I don't know, it looked like he kind of expected him to score.
There was a wee bit of a hesitation for a second. Again, it's been incredibly critical. But
First game for England. Yeah.
First game for England. He's in better form than Joe Hart. He's in better form than John Ruddy. He probably should be. He's a Champions League goalkeeper. He should be. Well, ultimately, if he gets a game, it's going to boost his profile, which means there's a chance that Celtic could lose him. But as long as we lose him for a decent fee.
Well, the unfortunate thing now is Hearts playing against Germany. I think Hodgson's already come out and said Hart's going to be starting, which is really disappointing because I think, they've given Forster a chance. They've done it with Celtic players in the past, and they've had one cap, and then that's them out the door. I was hoping Forster would retain his place for the two friendlies.
Yeah. Obviously, goalkeeper is such a hard position because there is only one position for it. So if you've got 2 or 3 pretty good goalkeepers, then I don't actually think there's that much difference. I know people might disagree. I don't think there's that much difference between Joe Hart and Fraser Forster. I think 2 years ago, Joe Hart was showing the type of form that Forster's showing just now, and I do think he is a really good goalkeeper. I actually think the problem with both those players is they can't command their box the way, a top like a Neuer commands his box, or the way that your French goalkeeper at Tottenham literally almost plays as a sweeper at times. He pushes so forward. So like Fraser Forster, we all hope he's going to be get an extended run in the team, but it'll be hard to see. Where would you rate Chris Boud? Where would you rate Forster in terms of world football? How good is he?
He's up there. He's not the best keeper in the world, certainly, but he's certainly one of the top UK and European-based goalkeepers. I think that's undoubtedly, as you say, he's done it on the greatest platform in football, the Champions League.
He's performed really well in the Champions League.
He's been outstanding, and some of the saves are saves that just other keepers could not make.
Yeah.
Which I think makes him stand out. We've all said, he isn't perfect. There's points of his game that could improve. Command of the box, kicking being atrocious. Although what he has done is shown that he can improve, and that has came along substantially. So, such a young age, he's built to be a keeper as well. His frame is just, he's so massive. Yeah,
he's quite intimidating in terms of, being one-on-one. He is like what the Barcelona fans nicknamed him the Wall, because he pulled off so many saves against us. He is an intimidating figure. Where would you put him, Ciaran? What are your kind of thoughts on him?
I wouldn't put him up too high.
You hate him, don't you?
I don't hate him, but there's... You're talking about some players being overrated, and I think he's almost gone down the line of being exceptionally overrated, because, don't get me wrong, shot stopper, one of the main duties of a goalkeeper. He's phenomenal at it. But for me, like you said, command his box, coming for balls, even decision making coming off the line. See if when a ball's played through, he's too slow to decide where to go for the ball and clear the lines, and then the defenders are having to come back and end up having to clear it.
Yeah.
His kicking, as you said, has improved, but sometimes, look at Ajax. I don't know, there must be about 3 or 4 where they couldn't even get it past the halfway line. So he's a great keeper, but for me, he's not particularly high up when it comes to the kind of like European keepers.
Sorry to cut you off there, Ciaran. Marek, is he good enough to be the Barcelona keeper?
No. Barcelona keeper's got to be good with his feet. Valdez might not be the best keeper in the world, but he's phenomenal with his feet, and he's one of the best in terms of he doesn't have to do it in the whole game, and then pulls off a great save. Forster for me is a great shot stopper, but he's awful with his feet, and on crosses I don't think he's too commanding either, to be honest.
Yeah,
I do rate Forster, but
I rate him. I do rate him highly myself. I just think again it's kind of Ciaran says overrated. Now I don't think he's overrated. He's probably rated at the level he should be, but I do think Joe Hart's as good as him, and it's just form. So, Foster's going to go through a bad run of form. When he first came to Celtic, he wasn't that great, and when, everyone wasn't too bothered. When we signed him the August time on a full-time contract, and a lot of people were disappointed because we'd been linked with better goalkeepers in terms of experience. So, Forster as being a full-on Celtic player with a contract, he has been terrific. He's not went through a bad period of form. His form kind of dipped a little bit towards the end of last season, but he's going to hit a bad run of form, and it's just how he bounces back from. Same with Joe Hart. It's how Joe Hart bounces back from this horrific run of form that he's going through just now.
But what age is Forster? 22?
Yeah.
He's still really young, particularly for a goalkeeper.
Absolutely.
And he's only going to get better. I think he was... It was at Norwich he was at for a while. Paul Lambert rates him really highly. I think he won Norwich's Player of the Year the season he was there. He's got so much ahead of him. I think he will, if he continues to progress the way he is, I think he could actually be one of the top goalkeepers in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just not good enough for Barcelona. We can all agree on that.
Do you know, that's a great point actually in terms of his distribution of the ball. He's nowhere near good enough for Barcelona, but as just a shot stopper, he's fantastic.
As just a shot stopper, I would put him right up there.
Yeah.
But as we say, his overall game needs to do a lot.
I had no idea he was only 22, so he's got a long career ahead of him, so he can improve in these things.
Absolutely. And as Chris has said, he has improved. Okay, not 100%, but he has improved his kicking. So
He practices. If you see him warming up pre-game, he's always practicing his kicks, and I think he always comes out early at half time as well with Stevie Woods, and he practices. So he's trying. He obviously knows there's deficiencies there.
He's 25.
25, sorry.
Is he? He's fucked.
I don't know where I get 22 from. 25 that's still really. He's got another 10 years. You know what I mean? But yeah, so Fraser Forster, we're absolutely want him to play for England, but if he doesn't, who gives a shit, really? Ciaran, you're a Man United fan, and you must have been happy by the Man United smashing Arsenal's title chances.
I was happy with the result. I wouldn't quite say smashing their title chances. I think at the moment Arsenal are the team that are doing well up there, and they've only got players to come back. I methink they're still missing Walcott, and then they could even strengthen January. So I actually
still missing Podolski, who was
Podolski as well,
hitting form.
I think the chances are with Arsenal just now.
Yeah,
Chelsea are still stuttering here and there. City are, that's what 4 defeats in 11 games.
Yeah,
that's not title contenders. Even United as well. Because the thing with City as well, their defeats are coming against the small teams. Well, we say small teams, look, the ones that aren't challenging for the title, just mid-table teams.
Yeah.
So they've still got the big teams to play, and if they're not getting results against them as well either, then they really are going to fall way, way, way back.
Yeah. What annoyed myself and Chris Boud the other week is how good Newcastle are doing. That kind of annoyed us.
It's only 2 results. Not get ahead of ourselves.
Can
fantastic results.
Oh yeah, without doubt. But are they going to keep that consistency going? That's the
we're just annoyed at how well they're doing just now, because we don't like Michael Chapman and we don't like Newcastle. So of course Michael Chapman, we're only joking. Brian, what were your thoughts on the Arsenal Manchester United game?
Awful. It was terrible. I was really looking forward to it, and it was just awful. It was a 4 o'clock game on it, and the Super Sunday in inverted commas. But all 3 games that day were terrible. I think the earlier game was at Sunderland,
Man City.
That was Spurs. Wasn't bad, but they just deteriorated through the day, and I just thought it was a terrible game. I was really expecting a lot from it, particularly from Arsenal, who just really disappointed me today. Ozil, surprised that he was actually playing. I don't think he'd done anything at all.
Yeah, you think Marek? You think Ozil's overrated? You think Ozil's overrated?
Well, I think he's a great player, but I think in big games for Germany and also for Real Madrid, he doesn't turn up. There's been countless games where he's just not been in the big games, like for Germany against Italy in the semi-final, for Real Madrid against Borussia Dortmund, things like that.
Yeah, Boud, you think he's one of the best
midfielder in the world? Fact.
Okay, it's not a fact, but state your case.
Fact.
State your case. Do you think he's better than Marco Reus? Because I don't.
No. But then I have pictures of Marco Reus on my wall in my bedroom. Lots of them surrounding me. So, but no, he's a fantastic player. He's not had the greatest start to his Arsenal career, certainly, but come the end of the season and next season, if he's still with Arsenal, I think he'll be the best, or certainly top 3
in the Premier League. Okay, we're just kind of winding down at this point. I just want to, there's a couple of kind of transfer rumours. Manchester United have put in apparently a £5 million bid for Ryan Gold from Dundee United. I've seen him a few times in person, and he looks like a great player. Scored a bicycle volley last week. He's got 8 goals, 6 goals in the league this season. I think he's got 8 overall, 17. Terrific. Get him in the Scotland squad. He's in the under-21s, I guess.
£5 million.
£5 million. Boud, this might interest you. Pato signing for Arsenal or Tottenham. He's still only 24. He's a guy who's been. I think he made his debut when he was 17. So he's been around for a long time. And Marek, we watched him for Corinthians last year. He was excellent in the Copa Libertadores. Would that be a good deal for Arsenal?
Superb player. Anybody that gets Pato is doing well. absolutely fantastic. It'd be good from point of view we get to see a lot more of him if he's playing in the Premiership.
Yeah.
I'd rather he didn't go there because I don't like them. But Pato was fantastic. He's a joy to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I take it with all kind of echo those.
He seems to kind of got over his injury problems as well. I don't think he's been injured for the last year or so. That we're seeing.
Yeah,
seen some sort of stat the other day.
His partnership with used to play in the Premier, the Bundesliga. What do you call him? Guerrero. When we were covering the Bundesliga, he got done for remember that the kick.
The worst tackle ever.
He got a 10-match suspension for that.
He drop kicked the guy.
He did. He basically dropped. It was unbelievable.
Fantastic forward though.
What are your thoughts on Cerci at Torino?
Oh, I think he's in terrific form this year.
He's been good.
He was good last season as well, but this year he seems to have slimmed down a lot as well. And I watched him. I can't remember who it was against. I think it was against Inter, and he was just taking the defender, just leaving him for dead.
Well, Arsenal, United and City are all after him for 60 million quid. Man City and Real Madrid are after Julio Cesar, the fat, shite Brazilian goalkeeper.
To replace Hart, apparently.
Is he still at QPR?
Aye.
He's on loan, he's not playing for them.
Aye, but he's still contracted to them.
He's on loan just now. But a surprise, rumor I heard today was that Sergio Aguero's on his way out. Who is their best player?
Aye, that'll be him wanting to get a move, though, not them wanting to get rid of him.
And there's a possibility it could be a swap, because there's linked with Real, and supposedly Pellegrini wants to bring Ramos over. There's possibly going to be a Ramos money for Aguero.
I seen the Ramos thing.
I think Iniesta signed a new contract.
Did they sign the new contract?
Yeah, 2017.
Iniesta.
Can I ask why people think Sami Khedira's good and why people want to buy him?
He's out for 6 months.
He's just done his knee in, is he not?
He's cruciate.
I thought you were a big fan of Khedira, no?
No.
I remember people were comparing it with Busquets, not last season, but the season before.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think he played an important role for Germany in terms of international football. But every time I've seen him for Real Madrid, it's not been very good. It was terrible in the derby against the El Clasico.
But it's his job not to just do the kind of dirty work that you don't really see, just kind of mopping up and getting the ball and just passing it on at the forward lines.
And he does that terrifically well for Germany because he's not like a key player for Germany, and he just gets on with it. Whereas for Real Madrid, he's more up front and he's the centre.
It's not like key because he sits with Alonso behind him and Modric in front of him, so there's not.
Yeah,
he's not really one of the key players at Real. He's just.
I just don't think he's good enough for Real Madrid. I think he does it. I think he's a decent player, but.
Well, you drop him, pull Modric back a bit, and then you play Isco in the middle.
Very good.
Fantastic player.
We're just winding up now. Is there any other kind of comments or points anyone wants to make about football in general? Any upcoming points you want to make? We're going to do a competition next month, which is something that we'll obviously inform you about.
We'll give something away.
For
free.
Brian's virginity, possibly.
Nope.
Any comments you want to make? Anybody got? Are we all good? Everyone's got everything off their chest?
Football is shit.
Okay, well, I'm Chris Gallagher. Follow me on Twitter at the Gallatron. Bryan McManus at Bryan McManus.
Nice and easy,
Yep. Marek Robert
at Don Fulcio.
And at Don Fulcio. Thanks, Marek, for hope to get you along for more times. Ciaran Harran at Ciaran Harran.
Certainly is.
Christopher Boud at the gayboy.com. At the Christopher Boud.
At the Chris Boud.
At the Chris Boud. Thanks for listening, and we'll speak to you down the road.